Hi folks, I have some exciting news because I know what's coming on November 19. Sony will have a major alpha announcement and we will get at least one new camera and one new lens, and I can tell you a bit more about those products. There might be some like room for some other surprise, but that's really wild guesses and rumors as of now. But today I will really tell you what you are likely to get and what you definitely will not get. But before we dig into this, take 2 seconds time to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button to not miss any of the upcoming rumors. So what you will hear today in this video are confirmed rumors from trusted sources, so I'm 100% sure this is going to be true. Then still unconfirmed rumors I'm working on that I think are likely to be true, but I still don't have the 100% final confirmation. But yeah, I think it's solid that this will be more or less right. And at the end, I will throw in a couple of crazy rumors I got from news sources, so definitely will be BS, but I'm going to just tell you that I got this, and you make out of this whatever you want, but this will be the clickbait part and you can also ignore that. First of all, I want to thank all the sources that in the past couple of days sent me a ton of info about the upcoming November 19 event. Of course, half of it was guesses and I heard of that did, so there was mostly good intention behind it, but most of it turned out not to be true. Some of it was right, but thank for the help. Without you, I couldn't do that job. So let's kick off with the highly reliable info I got. So the following info is 100% confirmed. I'm so certain I could close this channel if this will not happen and not become true. On November 19, we will get 2 products: the Sony A1II flagship E-mount alpha camera and the 28 70mm 2.0 GM full-frame autofocus lens. So this will be the first 2.0 zoom lens from Sony. This is confirmed, and the trusted sources also told me definitely do not expect a new Sony A7 IV. The Sony A7 IV will be announced in early 2025. This is coming via multiple trusted sources, so this is also reliable info, but it will not be announced on November 19. There were some people guessing and thinking, hoping to get the Sony A7 IV. You will have to wait a couple of months more, but it's definitely coming, don't worry, just not on November 19. This is the reliable part of the rumor. The rest is still to be confirmed, so I'm going to walk you through the general idea around the Sony A1II. The Sony A1II is likely to use the same Sony A1 sensor, so the same 50 megapixel CMOS sensor, which makes a ton of sense to me. It will not use a global shutter because of the small image quality penalties, so it's hard to sell a flagship camera that has an image quality that is slightly worse than the predecessor. So global shutter is not mature enough to be implemented on a Sony A1 flagship model. So the Sony A1II will use the same sensor, but there will be a ton of improvements around it. So it has AI chip, faster autofocus, faster frame rate. It will also have the same Sony A1 III body. And that's great news because the Sony A1 III body is really the best handling body from Sony. The buttons are better, the grip is better, so I'm very happy that Sony A1II has these two and makes a lot of sense, of course. So the bad news of today is that the Sony A1II will cost more than the Sony A1 costs right now. I was hoping the Sony A1 would get some major price drop to make room for the Sony A1II. This is not the case. The Sony A1II will be more expensive than the $6,500 we have to pay right now for the Sony A1. I didn't get the exact pricing info. I'm just guessing wildly. I'm assuming the worst case scenario here is that it will have to cost at least $1,000 more to really create a gap between the Sony A1 and the Sony A1II, which would make no sense if this would cost $6,999 in my opinion compared to the $6,499. Would love it, but just guessing that it's more likely to cost $7,500, $8,000, which is kind of a lot for something that looks like an evolution of the Sony A1. It's definitely not a big revolution. So that's the only thing that makes me a bit sad today. But for the rest, we can also expect the Sony A1II to have the new CF Express Type A 4.0 standard that doubles the read and write speed. It's also likely to have pre-capture, C2PA support for content authentication, and the availability will be in early 2025 only. So similarly to the Sony A1III that was announced 1 year ago in November, the camera is likely to ship in early 2025 only, so you will have to wait 2-3 months before you have it in your hand. Now, this is the general idea I got about the Sony A1II. I got some additional, more detailed specs that I'm not sharing right now because I'm trying to triple check it to be sure that I don't get fooled, that I don't give you false hopes or false info. But the Sony A1II will be evolution of the Sony A1, and on paper it will not sound like very intriguing and interesting, but from people that already saw the camera, the sum of the improvements on this camera really make it worth to be considered. So this camera, Sony really made a hard effort to improve on every aspect of the Sony A1. So from image quality, that is still will be a tiny bit better. Of course, that's negligible, but they worked on that. The frame rate will be faster. Video performance will be much improved and so forth. And so the whole range of elements in the Sony A1 has been improved by quite a bit. And this will make the difference according to Sony and the sources I talked with. Of course, we have to get the full details yet to be able to make a proper assessment. So expect me in the next days to be able to share more detailed specs like the exact frame rate from 30 frames per second to up to whatever, or if it now shoots 8K 60p, very likely, but I need a final confirmation before I share some info that might then turn out to be different than I am sharing today. So hold off your final judgment until you see the final specs, and the devil is always in the detail, and I think Sony really worked hard to make the camera as solid as possible. So probably the biggest letdown will not be the specs of the camera, but the pricing. That's my feeling right now. Regarding the 2870 2.0 GM, I told you at the beginning of the year I got a rumor from 2 trusted sources about a 2470 2.0 GM. So turned out they are right that there is a 2.0 zoom, but Sony apparently decided to go, they had, according to the sources, 2 prototypes, 2470 and 2870. They decided to go for 2870 because the final priority was on having a compact lens that is still very usable. So this lens will be way more compact and lighter than the Canon 2870 2.0 and have about the same price, around $3,000. And now let's come to the crazy stuff. That means rumors I got from news sources through the contact box, and where they gave me no evidence at all, and no trusted sources gave me a confirmation that this is really becoming true, but I'm sharing it now and just to throw it out, and maybe some of the sources watching me will give me the final proof that this is BS, or maybe there's some kind of miracle or Steve Jobs moment happening on November 19, that there's one more thing that would be nice. Sony never did it, but it would be nice to get it. But basically, I got some additional info about 2 products, about a sort of new wildlife lens that could be announced on November 19. Again, totally not unconfirmed. Some were speculating this might be the 100-400mm GM2, so an update of the current 100-400 GM, which makes sense, but I have no clue if this is coming. The second info I got is totally crazy. One source promised to give me also some proof in the next days, that one of those new sources, so I don't think it will happen, but he claims there is also a €3,000 camera coming from Sony. That's all he said. I don't know if that €3,000 camera, I know it's not a Sony A7 V, because that's something trusted sources told me, but if there really would be, and there will be not, okay, but if there really would be a $3,000 camera, my bet would be on the full frame fixed lens RX1 R3 camera, mainly because I want it. This is just based on my own dreams. But let's see if in the next days if he really comes back. But this is really totally wild. Okay, to wrap it up, we are going to get the Sony A1II new flagship E-mount alpha camera on November 19, along a new 20x70 2.0 zoom lens, full frame autofocus lens from Sony. So this will be the first 2.0 zoom lens from Sony. Maybe there will be another 70, 150, 180 2.0 down the line. I don't know, but it's definitely nice to get this kind of lens. The A1II will be an evolution, not a revolution. compared to the A1. So Sony tweaked every aspect of the camera to improve it. The body design will be that of the A1II. It will have the AI chip, a faster frame rate, faster autofocus, faster buffering, faster read and write speed thanks to the new 4.0 CF Express Type A cards, and so forth. I am now working on the details. The next days I should be able to really give you some detailed specs so that we know if the Sony A1II will be worthy successor, and with probably the only downside being a higher price than the Sony A1. So that's what you really can expect to get on November 19. There is some chatter about some other products that is totally wild and unconfirmed, and most of the time they turn out to be not true. So don't hope for anything else than this. But definitely subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button, because in the next days I will be able to gather some solid tech info and specs regarding the A1II. My hope is also, my dream is also that I can get some images of the lens and the camera. The camera will look like the Sony A1II, so I made an image here to show you how it might look. I'm certain that my photoshopped image is 99% what you get on the A1II. And I'm very curious to get the image of the 20x70 2.0, because if it's really much more light and compact than the Canon, I think this could be quite a lovely lens to own. I would have preferred if the original rumor would have turned out to be true with 24mm, because I think this makes it more useful for landscape. But of course, if it's 28 and 7 2.0 but still way more compact than the Canon, then it also makes sense that they released that one. So folks, that's it for today. See you very soon, because I think next days I will be able to really share some more details about the two products, and also tell you if some of the BS wild crazy rumor is confirmed to be crazy wild, or if there's really one more thing that will surprise us all. See you soon, folks.